All right, well, hi everybody. Welcome to the color treatment gallery assignment. What we are going to be doing today is working specifically in Adobe Premiere, and I wanted to get you started with thinking about manipulating video content in artistic ways to create a particular mood or tone for your viewer. So this is where, you have your, let's say, core footage for whatever production you're working on, but you're working with post-production techniques to continue to amplify a particular emotion that you want to get out of your viewer, achieve a particular artistic style, something like that, right? Because that's what it's all about. The production shots are all Legos that are collected, right? And then we build the masterpiece in post-production. So the first thing that I want you to do is gather 3 clips of video. They can be short clips of video, like maybe 8 seconds at the shortest, I would say. And then you can cut them down if they're longer. You can cut them down when we get into Adobe Premiere. So I have linked some sites that you can get free stock video from. My personal go-to is just Pexels. They seem to have like really interesting free stock footage all the time. You can download it at whatever aspect you want. My videos, I just did a traditional landscape shape, but you can do whatever you like. So you can also shoot your own video, or you can use video that you've shot in the past. It doesn't matter to me. But you do need 3 clips of video. You're going to be doing certain manipulations on them, and then you're going to be revealing to us, the viewer, what they look like before the post-production effects you've put on them, okay? And we'll go through that step by step. All right, so once you get your video clips, you're going to go ahead and we're going to be good digital content creators, and we're going to stay organized. So we're going to go ahead and create a folder to put these clips in, because we don't want to be just dragging our clips all willy-nilly from wherever, because that's how video projects get wrecked, because we lose our source clips, because they accidentally get thrown in the garbage or whatever. So whenever you're doing video or animation or anything like that, you want to make sure that you're keeping all of your assets in one place and that you save your project file in that same place. I tend to just keep stuff on my desktop as I'm working on it. You could use an external hard drive, like whatever it is. Okay, so anyways, there's my folder. So I'm going to come on into Premiere. I'm going to start a new project. You are hearing my dog click and clink all around. She gets very excited when I record tutorials. I don't know exactly why that is, actually, but those of you that have dogs, you know what I'm talking about. They just, she gets like this when I also talk on the phone. So, it's just getting excited about communication. Okay, so here's my project name, treatment. I'm going to make sure that I'm saving this in my treatment folder here. Yay, look at me, I'm organized. I'm gonna go ahead and create that project, and I'm just gonna skip that here. It wanted to know if I wanted to import media right away, and I don't. I'm gonna do it a different way. There's many ways to import media into your project. So the other thing I need to do real quick is go ahead and make this mouse large so that you can see where it's moving around on the screen. So let me just do that really quick. So yeah, I mean, as we're pulling our stuff in, you want to kind of start thinking about what kinds of, what kind of effects you want to sort of apply to these clips that you have. So all right, I've got kind of a wonky setup right here. Just so you know, if you ever come in and your workspace is weird, you can always go you can go to Window, Workspaces, and I just want to set mine to Essentials, actually. So there's different types of workspaces. Ultimately, you can always go to Window to find whatever window it is that you're looking for, but, people have preferred ways that they like to work. So yeah, so like I said, I set mine to Essentials. So if you want to have the same setup as me, go ahead. Well, let's see, maybe I like editing better though. No, let's just do Essentials. I think that'll be easiest. All right, Essentials. Okay. So I have my project window in Essentials is up here in the top left. So I'm going to go ahead and click this Import Media button. You can also go to File and Import. I'm going to go ahead and bring my clips in. And I picked some pretty different clips to have in this project. And let's see. So I want to create a sequence, but the thing that is weird about stock footage, or it doesn't really matter what project you're working on, it's always something to think about, is you really want your sequence to be the size that you tell it to be, and you're going to fit the videos that you put on the timeline to the sequence that you create. So basically, I don't really know what size videos these are. It looks like two of them are actually 1920 by 1080, and then one's 3840 by 2160. So they are different sizes, and I'm going to deal with that in my timeline here, but why don't I go ahead and make the timeline a sequence the size that I want it to be, and I'm going to optimize my sequence for streaming online, right? Like on YouTube or something. So I'm going to go to New Sequence. I am going to choose the HD 1080p. There are so many different ones to choose from here. You can go for social media if you want to go for more of a portrait look for yours. This would work really good as a short if you wanted the world to see it. If you don't, you absolutely don't need to post it anywhere. But I am going to go for HD 1080p at 23 well, it's 23.976, but come on, it's 24 frames essentially a second. And I'm going to name this treatment because that is the project I'm working on. So I'm going to go ahead and create that sequence, and I'm going to start bringing my clips down. So I have the two that are already 1920 by 1080. I'm going to take the first one and drag it down. And, oh, Premiere didn't actually say anything because they are the same size. So this looks like this clip is about 23 seconds long. So it's just somebody is filming, somebody else play a game like a carnival or something. I picked pretty different clips just to get really different effects. So like, for example, for this assignment, it might be kind of boring to only have footage of trees. Speaking of, here's my footage of trees. I kind of did this through the point of view. This footage looks like it's through the point of view of like, I don't know, an animal prowling around, maybe a dog curious and sniffing around in the forest. It's really pretty low point of view. And then the last one is, I love these pieces of footage with the skeletons. I don't know why, but I always pick one of those like Halloween all year round kind of people. So anyway, and then this one I know is too big, the skeleton. So we're just going to scale it down. Okay. So I'm going to click on this clip and I'm going to bring it down until it's fitting on the window properly. And there we go. So next I want to get rid of this audio, and I also need to trim these clips down real quick. So let's go ahead and do that. I am going to control click or right click if you're on a PC, and I want to unlink these. Let's get rid of that audio. We don't need to be hearing that at all. All right, perfect. And great, that's all good. And then I'm going to just trim these down. So it doesn't need to be exact or anything. But actually what I could do real quick is if I take these and just stack them, let's see how long the skeleton, what did I say, about 8 seconds? I'm going to have my clips be the same length as the skeleton one, so about 13 seconds. That should be enough time for people to see the effect. I'm going to reveal the before and after, which I'm going to show you how to do, which is all part of the gallery. And hopefully what this will do is get you familiarized with using some of the effects in Premiere too, and some of the animation controls. We are going to be working in Premiere and After Effects all term, obviously working on post-production video, compositing digital effects. That's the class. So yeah, that's what we're going to do. We're starting in Premiere though, because Premiere is a little easier to deal with. All right, so now I have my 3 clips trimmed down. I don't have any fussy audio, and everybody's fitting perfectly. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to actually make 2 copies of each of these clips. So if I have these all highlighted, I can just marquee select them like that. I'm going to drag my scrubbing tool down on the timeline a little bit, and if I just hit Command or Control C and then V, you're going to see that a copy of these has been created. So I'm just going to take this copy and I'm going to drag it on top, and this will allow us to make adjustments to the top layers and then reveal the original look of the video underneath. All right, so 2 clips stacked on top of each other. Make sure that you're applying the effects to the top layer. In fact, you can lock, there's a little lock right here. You can lock this particular layer so that it won't allow you to put anything on there. I'm just seeing if I can make this a little bit bigger here. I know it's hard to see these applications, so I'm making this really exaggerated and much larger than they need to be, but hopefully that'll help if you can see that a little bit better, okay? All right, so now the fun stuff. So I'm going to show you around and do some things to my video clips, but I want you to explore through the effects panel in Premiere, and I want you to do your own fun stuff, okay? I have some presets that are going to show up in my Premiere panel here that are, let's see, maybe I'm going to drag this over here, actually, my effects panel, so that it's right next to the effect controls. And you're going to see some effect presets in here from a third-party plugin that I have. So just know that if you're seeing a bunch of mine and you're not seeing them on yours, that's why. But I'm only going to stick to the native presets, of course. Okay, so if we toggle down to the Lumetri presets, you're going to see, let's see here. Oh, I see what's going on. I had a word in my search bar, and that's why it was limiting what I could see. Okay, if I click down on the Lumetri presets here, I have a bunch of different options, and you can actually just do so much right within these presets that are available. They all have different looks, and as you click on them, it will give you like previews of what this is going to look like. So these balloons, ooh, this one actually is kind of popping out to me. These balloons lend to having a very like Technicolor vintage look, just the nature of the carnival and everything. So I'm going to take this Cinespace 100 and I'm going to drag and drop that down onto my footage. And you can see the difference that it made there. And remember from the tutorial, we looked at color correction, color grading, and more advanced color grading for treatment. So just remember that there are all of those options here in the effects panel. But anyways, so just in this space alone, there's like a whole bunch of different options that you can go through. So I'm going to stick with putting this on here. And one thing that you can do to kind of watch and see the effects is I'm gonna drag this back a little later on, but you can see the before and after by dragging your top clip a little short temporarily so that you can see the effect that your effects are having. Okay, so I'm going to drop that, and then let's say I'm going to go in here and I want to affect the color. So here we have Lumetri Color, which is for color correction. I'm going to go ahead and go to brightness and contrast, and I'm going to go ahead and drop that on that clip. Now it doesn't do anything inherently. What you need to do is find your effect control window, which is right here. Your effect control window is going to show you all the effects that you have applied to a piece of footage. So you can see here that I have the Lumetri Color that I just put on it. I can make adjustments here to it if I want, and then my brightness and contrast here. So let me just make some adjustments with that and see if I'm liking anything here. And ooh, I'm kind of liking bringing that contrast up a little bit. So I'm just going to do a before and after to kind of see where I'm at. You can see this colors are much more vintage looking. It's really kind of blown out. The colors themselves are looking a little bit more of the primary sort and less of the kind of more pastel or mid-range. So we got that nice teal, and there's a really cool gradient happening here. So let's say, you know, I'm going for a vintage vibe, like maybe on the boardwalk or whatever. I guess there's snowmen up there, but I don't know when and where this clip is from. Who knows? Okay, so cool. So I'm liking that. Now let's go in and let me get rid of this color search here. I am going to look through the video effects. So there's a lot in here, a lot of stuff you can do. I am going to go in and just look at noise and grain, and I'm going to add noise to this clip to give it a little bit more of a granular feel, since I'm going for vintage vibe. Right now there's no amount of noise applied to it, but you can see as I ramp it up, it can get pretty exaggerated. So I am going to go ahead and maybe do it at like 20%-ish. So if we look at that compared to the original footage, you could see that being really effective for a particular type of vibe, right? So now I'm going to stretch this back over. And now what I want to do for this particular clip is I'm going to animate. I'm going to let it run a little bit till maybe about here. And then I want to animate it revealing the original footage and then going back to showing the manipulations in post-production. So if I click on this clip, I'm going to come over here to properties, and in properties, the native properties that you have are transform and crop. So what I'm going to do is, I think I'm going to reveal it by bringing the crop this way and then bringing it back over. So what we need to do is initiate some keyframes. And if you don't know what keyframes are, these are animation commands that basically tell the software when to start and stop a particular animation that you're assigning, okay? So for example, there always has to be 2 keyframes, a starting and stopping point. There can be many, many more than that, but the very minimum there needs to be 2. Okay, so let me see. Yeah, this is the way I want it to go. So I'm going to put that back at 0. I am going to punch a keyframe. Make sure you're on the timeline where you want the animation to start. I'm going to bring this over a little bit. I am going to drag this to reveal the original footage, like so. I'm going to drag it forward on the timeline a bit more, and then I'm just going to simply drag it back. And then that's going to animate and show, and you can see how it's moving over here. It gives us an idea of what the original footage looked like. And you know, you can make that longer if you want. So the areas that I want you to look at are in your effects. You know, look through all the video effects, color correction, you can do distortion. In fact, let's do a mirror effect. Let's go down to the skeleton and let's put the mirror effect. A lot of these basic effects are in After Effects too, of course. So let's see, there's the mirroring. So let's say we want to have this skeleton look like it's got has a, like, connected at birth or something, 2 twins, I don't know. It's got this weird thing going on with the head being connected and moving around, so that's kind of cool. I'm going to go ahead and leave that, but there's just a lot of different effects in here. Okay, I'm going to bump back over here to the forest, and I wanted to go over color preset on here. So before we use kind of a footage or the look of a certain type of camera. So we're going to go ahead and apply something else on this forest footage. All right, so for this one, let's see, I'm going to go ahead and just search for color. And I think I'm going to go ahead and take the tint and bring it down on this clip. And then we can, right now it's mapped to white. But let's go ahead and change the color here to like a red. And you see the amount of effect it has on that. So we've just taken this footage that is just regular of a forest. We've turned it rather dark, rather ominous. And this says matte black too. Let's change this and see what this does. So let's maybe change it to a green. And so now we have almost like the background is burning or on fire. Let's try another color. What about like a yellow? See what that looks like. That's kind of cool. I mean, this is super extreme, and of course it really depends on what you're doing. And so you can see if I have it at 70%, you can even make it to where obviously the footage is unrecognizable, but of course it really just depends on what you're doing. I mean, maybe you're wanting this footage to go inside of a text mat or something, which is something we'll go over later on in the term. Or maybe if I bring this more to like an orange and it's a little bit more close. Oh, that just takes complete visibility away. There's not enough contrast between the two. I think I'm going to take the map to black, just back to black. But anyways, you can kind of see there's a never-ending amount of things. I mean, even if you want it to be more subtle, it gives this forest more of like a purple tint. And let's see, I'm going to go back to effects, and there's a wave effect that I like to use, wave warp right here. So I'm going to go ahead and put wave warp down. Now you can see this is pretty extreme right here. So I'm going to go to the effect controls, and I am going to bring that wave height down. So let's see what that's looking like. That's a little bit hard to see actually. I want to change the direction for sure. Let's change it to 90. So it should be going, oh no, maybe it was at 90. Let's try, I guess maybe I had it at 180. It's going across the screen. Okay. Wave width, I want to come down. I want it to be much more subtle. There we go. And that'll give us kind of a distorted sort of video look. One thing to kind of think about when you're applying effects like this to video and post-production is sometimes you can do things that really don't make that big of a difference. So I'm noticing now with the wave on there that it does give a little bit of like when it's still and I'm just looking at one frame of this video, I can see the effect on it, but I'm now realizing with the movement and the effect on there that it's not really doing a lot for the clip. And so that's one thing to always keep in mind. Like if there's too much movement in the footage that you have for the viewer to even notice what's going on, and it's not really helping you tell the story or evoke a mood or anything, then maybe you don't need to have it on there. So I'm going to decide, you know what, I don't really like this wave warp effect. Well, how do I get it off of there? Well, you can come to the effect controls panel here and you can just highlight the effect and just delete it off of there. Okay, so I know one more thing that I'm going to do to this clip, and that is to bring in brightness and contrast. I'm a huge brightness and contrast person. I always love to manipulate with this control. It's very basic and it's been around forever. You're probably familiar with it, you know, Photoshop or what have you. But I'm going to bring the brightness down and maybe muddy up the contrast. So this is going to give the footage a much more flat feel. And I think that looks pretty cool. So I'm going to call it on there. So now I'm going to come through and then just animate quickly. I think it was the right side. I'm going to go ahead and drop a keyframe, bring it forward a little bit, drag that crop back, come forward a little bit more, and drag it over so that we can see that before and after. All right, cool. Now for Mr. Skeleton. So he's kind of silly, so I'm going to do some really silly stuff here. Let's see, I am going to stop talking through this. I'm going to go ahead and just throw some effects on here. I'll tell you what they are after I throw them on, and then I will go over exporting this project with you. Okay, so I think I'm gonna go ahead and stop there. So all I did here was I just added Lumetri Color. Now you can see there's a lot of controls in here. And I, of course, am manipulating the video for artistic purposes. I'm not trying to correct it and make it real, which is super fun. So feel free to jump in and just play around. But you can see I've turned this skeleton footage into this kind of purple. It almost looks like it's lit up by purple from the underneath, and it's fitting more of a Halloween vibe now, right? And then we've got that mirrored effect on there. So I'm pretty happy with that. So I'm going to go ahead and come on down and go ahead and animate that reveal on here. So I'm going to drop my keyframe, pull that right side back. Of course, I want to pull it all the way across the skeleton so we can see where our skeleton friend was from the beginning, and then pull it back, and there we go. So I have just now completed a color treatment gallery. So here's my cool effects, and here's the before and afters. Yay. So now all you need to do, now of course you need to save your project so that you have all your work saved here, and we're going to go ahead and export this. A couple different ways you can do that. You can go to File, Export Media, or you can simply hit Command or Control M. I'm going to hit Command M here. And all right, so the file name is treatment. That's fine. It's going to my, not the right folder. It's going to texture exploration. So I need to make sure this is going to treatment so that I can find it. A lot of students lose their video projects by not paying attention to where they saved it. And yeah, I've never personally done that. I'm just kidding. I do that all the time. So I lose clips, have to re-export them, and then I'll find them like months later in a folder when I'm doing some cleaning. Like, that's where that video file went. All right, in terms of the preset, match source is a really, really high, larger file size. I'm just gonna go with a high quality 1080p for online streaming. That's gonna be just fine. Format H.264. We don't have any audio. You can leave the audio on if you want. It doesn't really matter. It'll just output an audio track with nothing on it. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and export this. Okay, and let me go ahead and get Premiere out of the way. We're going to check out our final video file. Here it is, and it's 42 seconds long. That's perfect, you guys. These really shouldn't be over a minute long. And again, we're just going through and exhibiting the before and after of our effects gallery, okay? So that's it. So when you submit this, you need to upload it. You can upload it to YouTube or Vimeo. If you don't want people seeing this on your channel, I get it. Just put it as unlisted. Don't put it on private. Put it as unlisted so that people with a link can view it. I have a lot of students who send me links that are on private, and then I cannot grade your project. And then I email you, and then we have to go through a whole thing. And that's okay if it happens, but we're just trying to avoid it, okay? You can also do Google Drive and send a link that way. That's fine. Again, make sure your permissions are set. That's probably one of the biggest problems that I run into in a video class, is that permissions aren't set for me to grade, okay? All right, well, that's it. I can't wait to see your video manipulations. Please reach out if you have any questions, and goodbye.